Okay, welcome to another after show live. And guess what? It's another last minute deal. Yes, I have got roving reporter and all round actually PWA winner, because he actually won the event we're going to talk about today. Obviously, we're going to talk about Croatia, goes about the spot, which is Bol, and the Zeus station, which is organizing that event. And obviously, the guy we're bringing in is Maciek Rutkowski. Yep, and there he is. And Maciek, I have to ask you, is your internet good?
Yes, this time I foresee absolutely no problems.
Perfect. And that's what we wanted to see. Obviously, you guys at home, leave us your comments. Definitely get involved, because that is what this show is about. If you didn't tune in to any of, well, to the last one, we've only done one so far. It's basically where we sum up the event for guys who wasn't there. Obviously, Croatia didn't have live stream. We did the one in Israel, which had live stream, so we had a little bit of an insight. I had more of an insight. And Bol, I just watched it like you guys watched it at home. So I've only seen the videos. There were some really good detailed videos, like 15-minute videos daily. So the guys doing the media, the Trio Stories guys, did a great job. I kind of felt like I knew what happened. But obviously, we've got Maciek there, who's going to give us the inside scoop. And he obviously won the event, for anyone who doesn't know. So he's going to have a little bit of a different task. We might be able to get in a few other riders. If you are one of the riders that were in Croatia, or maybe a PWA rider or someone who's got some interest in this, and you've got my details on Maciek, you can send us a message and we can send you an invite, and maybe we can get you on to discuss stuff as well. But the main idea is just to get a little bit behind the scenes for stuff that we didn't see. We're going to be playing videos. I'm going to try and upload a few now, because last time, I don't know why, it wasn't playing the big videos. And this time we've only got the big videos. So I'm going to try and play a few. And obviously we're going to talk through it. So like I said, you'll have to bear with us a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be on it. So let's have a look. Let's see how it works straight away. Usually it doesn't work, but this seems to be working. Okay, Maciek, firstly, mate, congratulations.
Thank you. And thanks for having me again. Sorry for my little background. I look a bit like I'm in jail, but yeah, I literally just arrived home from Croatia. I had a mini holiday there, and just cruising on a boat. So yeah. I
did see some pictures, actually. It looked like you were living the dream. I was thinking, just because you won the event, maybe that was getting treated to the high life.
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan anyway, to have a little mini vacation, Israel and Croatia back to back. So I think I deserve, like, 3-4 days. I took like 5 days. So yeah, definitely not bad at all. In Croatia, for somebody that hasn't been, it's kind of a bit of a hidden gem. It's like, it's really beautiful. The temperature is kind of perfect. Like, it's not too hot, and the water, like, in board shorts, is like, it cools you down, but it's not, too cold or whatever. It's just, it's pretty dreamy. So I enjoyed that for sure. And I enjoyed that event too. We had some amazing racing. It was my 4th time, I think, in Bol, and it was actually the best conditions we got. So yeah,
it looked good, man. It looked like you had proper wind. I mean, obviously, for anyone who hasn't been following much of the racing, the first racing, well, anyone's ever seen on the PWA for 18 months was Israel. And everyone left Israel going, okay, the foil has taken over. That's it. We may as well just throw away the normal slalom boards. And it was super interesting to me to see Bol kick off pretty much a couple of weeks later, and instantly slalom was back on the agenda.
Yeah, there's a couple things to mention there. One being the conditions, pretty much polar opposite of Israel. Israel was dead flat and very, very gusty, like insanely gusty. While Bol, I think the variance of wind was like 1 knot or something. It's like just mega steady and pretty choppy. As usual in the pictures, it doesn't look, and in videos it looks flat, but it's actually like solid half a meter, like solid, like waist high chop. So there was a couple guys doing only foil. Lucas Giraud, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with French names, and Hu Tak, which is like a really top IQ foil sailor. They were like fully committed to the foils. It's a bit of a shame we didn't have Nico Goyard there, because obviously he's like the benchmark. But I'm pretty like I'm sure he would have had a harder time in Croatia than he had in Israel. I'm not gonna foresee his result, or would he have finished top 3 or not, or whatever. But you know, the Finn there, you just sat down in your harness and pushed like a mofo, you know. And as we see Enrico here jibing, you see how choppy it was, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew personally after Israel, I had to have a lot of conversations of like, guys, Finn ain't dead yet, huh? But
and that's
you know, watching that event, I can imagine where this comes from. So then, yeah. So then, that's pretty much the lowdown right there, I think.
So I mean, the big question, which is not really answered, because, like you say, Nico Goya wasn't in Croatia. I think because he was quite far ahead in those conditions, we have to say, in Israel. He was in a little league of his own, and we don't know. We can guess. We can kind of say it would have been close. It might have been, you know, more Finn because of the difference in the wind strengths, and it's more consistency. And I kind of think it was definitely Finn weather, but we don't know. We can't say for definite because he wasn't there. But what do you think? Do you think it would have been a Finn that would have won? What's your gut feeling? Like
my gut feeling is that, having raced Finn versus foil in Tenerife, in Tarifa, winter training, all sorts of stuff, the first guy gets away pretty well. Like, it's very compared, like Finn to foil. When you jibe on the Finn in like second, third, it's quite hard to jibe. But when you jibe first, you can go in full speed, exit full speed. So I think it would be very hard for Nico to win finals, but I can definitely see him being somewhere up there. And it's just a shame he wasn't there. It's just a shame he wasn't there. Yeah, so somebody's asking if foiling would maybe help with the chop as well. It's quite the opposite, actually, because your mast of your foil is around 1 meter, 95. Basically, the shorter it is, the faster it is, but the longer it is, the more control you have up and down, right? Because you have more margin of error. So imagine you have a mast that's 95. Most of us have 95s because we believe that's a good compromise, and there's 70 cm of chop. That doesn't leave you much room for error. You know?
Up and down, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and if you see us jibe here, I just crashed like a total kook alone on the first final, but you know, it's like you lay the rail, and we really go with confidence, and with the foil you have to negotiate the chop, you probably have to go outside, and so yeah, I wish he was there, but if you ask me my boldest prediction, it would be that he would be in the fight for top 3.
Yeah,
but that's that could be optimistic. That could be maybe he would smoke us again. Hell knows, you know. So yeah.
I mean, okay, so there's going to be a few people who don't quite understand how it's working. So I can see that already. Andy going, why is there no change in results on the PWA website? Well, basically, this is a 2-star event. Now, Maciek can probably explain more about what the difference is. So Israel happened, 5-star event. Bol, Croatia, 2-star event. It won't really have any alteration on the results, will it? And how do you explain it the best? What be just for the guys?
It's basically like the whole season. Whether this rule is right or not, we can discuss. But for what the rule is right now is that you count. Let's say there is 6 5-star events and 6 lower ranked events, 4, 3, 2, 1-star, whatever. You will count your 6 best results. So you will count the same amount as you have of 5-star events.
Yeah.
And for 4th in Israel, I got 10,000 points. For winning in bowl, I got 3,000 something. So for me, that's not going to count. No. But if somebody comes to Israel, comes like 60th, and then goes to a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star and wins, that might count for him.
Yeah.
So
the priority goes to the 5-star events. You know, that's what they want. If there's 3 5-star events in a year, you count 3 results. And the chances are, if you've done all right in the 5-star events, they will be your counting results.
Yeah.
It's really for the guys that are struggling in the 5-star events. These 2-star events are a chance to get the media coverage, I guess, to get them racing near the higher end of the fleet. Because in theory, on a normal year, the top guys wouldn't enter Croatia. Is that
we would not be allowed, actually.
Okay.
So again, COVID kind of totally fucking decimated our tour. Korea just got canned. It was the first time I would actually be sad not to go to Korea. But yeah, it's like, again, like you would think, like when the calendar came out, it was like 8 or 9 events. It was the sickest year since I've been around. And then just one after the other, COVID, this, sharks in New Caledonia, whatever, canceled. So then PWA goes like, okay, we are the platform. The PWA is a platform for brands to promote their gear via their riders. And if the riders are not allowed to compete in one of the few events we have, that doesn't really work. So they're like, okay, let's open the 2-star and let whoever go, but then obviously it counts way less. So like I decided to go because I decided it's kind of good training especially for foiling, because the place usually it's more of like foiling. So I was like, okay, let's set up my foils better, see how it is a little bit more in competition, treat it as, but training. But then you see like Matteo enter and Enrico enter and Bruno and Jordi and Basile, and all of a sudden it was a freaking stacked, super stacked fleet, and Cedric Bourne and just a lot of guys. So all of a sudden it was a proper event, and somebody asked him, but with the conditions, shouldn't ball be a 5-star event? Is it a money issue? It actually came really close to being a 5-star. There was a lot of effort by the organizers, Tony in particular, and the PWA.
For people who don't know, Tony is the guy who owns the surf station on the beach, the Zoo Station.
Zoo Station, yeah.
And he's a top dude. He's a top bloke. I met him 15 years ago when I went to Croatia for a couple of stars PWA freestyle event. It was a long time ago, but it's a good place, I have to say. I had a right laugh.
Yeah. By the way, look at that guy flying in the front. Who's that? So there was a lot of effort for the PWA to upgrade that event to 5-star, and actually the competitors, they agreed to take a little bit less money and maybe not have free accommodation and whatever, but PWA was like, okay, at least we need the media package, the live stream, the media distribution, all that stuff that we normally have at a event, which costs X amount of money, and plus you need more crew and whatever. And he actually managed to find the money for the crew, because this event was run by 2 PWA judges. Normally we have 6.
Yeah.
So he actually managed to find the money for the crew, but the media money was missing, and unfortunately it was too late to even crowdfund it or whatever, and it just stayed at 2 stars, which is a shame because this event was really, really epic.
Well, it was because you won it. No, but it's true. I mean, I watched obviously all the days racing and stuff, and it looked a really good event. And again, someone just actually mentioned it now. You know, literally, nearly all the top boys are there. It was a really packed fleet. Obviously, not everyone, but it was a difficult one to win. And as we just said, it comes down to money, basically, and standards. Because if the say someone wants to put it on for lower money and lower prize money, if you then say, oh yeah, no problem, then the guys who are putting the bigger money up, why would they bother? Why would, it would be a cascading effect, which lowers all the standards at all the events. So there has to be a level. You can't just keep dropping it. There is, talk of dropping it for 1 year to get someone on the 5-star, to get them on the ladder, so to speak, show them what that can do. I don't know how far that's going. And as you said, a lot of the sailors said they were willing to take a little bit just to make the event happen, because we are in, unprecedented times, as I keep hearing the word used, but we are. It's a difficult time for racing and just windsurfing competition.
Yeah, for sure. And I would gladly, there's mixed opinions on this. But yeah, and Luigi asks, are you serious? The New Caledonia race was cancelled because of sharks. I'm not like 100% sure if that's the sole reason, the only reason, but I know that there was like 3 fatal shark attacks in 2 months. And New Caledonia government just basically cancelled all water activity there was.
Yeah, they don't want anybody
like all the local events, everything got cancelled, and for sure COVID doesn't help either. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. Hopefully now it's out there, they can raise the fund to be 5-star event. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was always Tony's plan. So the organizer really wants it to be a 5-star. He was super stoked to have Matteo there. A world champion, to have guys from multiple countries, and he's just a passionate guy, and yeah, he does it for the stoke pretty much. So shout out Tony.
Like I said, look at the place. I mean, it is an awesome place. Like, I know when I first went there, like say 15, 16 years ago, and I was like, Croatia, I don't know, like my head at the time was thinking, Croatia, what? I didn't have a picture of what it was going to be like. And when I got there, I was like, this is a sick place. Like I say, that aerial view of the little sand spit on the top is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the first mark is about 20 meters away from that sand peninsula. So it's insane to watch. Like you can hear, you're jibing the first mark, and you can hear the people cheering from the beach, and yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna have a look at a few questions. How different the foil at Nico to yours? I mean, the registered foil is smaller, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah,
Nico.
You have actually on the PWA website. I'm not sure where, I would have to check, but there is a list of registered equipment, and you can see there all the sizes, what everybody registered. But for me, my smallest wing is around 570 square cm, and Nico's is a 430. And so that's, if you count in percentage, that's a lot. It's like 30% difference or something. That's huge differences, So that's the main difference, pretty much. That, most of us were not suspecting to foil in such high winds. So we just put that cutoff at that size, and an 8-meter foil sail, because we were expecting what we have here in Croatia,
So, okay, just let's go on to that. So Croatia, what wind strength were you on the fin? Were there any races in Croatia where you were like, this is on the edge? And how windy was it? And who was the first to change? What was going on over there?
Basically, the minute you could be.
Or did you all have a gentleman's agreement where you went, right, boys, we're going on?
Definitely no gentleman's agreement.
Okay.
It was pretty clear cut, because we had 3 days of 7 and medium board, which pretty much everybody was on the fins. So kind of, you know, like what the Israel gusts were, but even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then everybody was on fins, as you can see. And I think the best guy was Lucas. He was making maybe some loser finals on the foil and whatever. He's, by the way, like Nico's training partner. He's
Okay.
like one of the only other freaks to foil in 25 knots plus, you know.
Who's
but
that?
Anyway,
sorry? Who's that? Sorry.
Lucas. Let me G Road. I'm really bad with the.
Okay, yeah.
Lucas
Giroux.
France 820.
Yeah.
Finished 13th here, and he has like he has a couple. He has one final here, and quite a few loser finals. And so he was on the foil all the time. So yeah.
So he was the one that was trying to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, and then like the 2 last days, they were pretty much clearly foil days. You know what I mean? It was more like between 9 meter and 8 meter foil. So we kind of had to like, so we kind of had it quite clear cut.
Yeah. I mean, it looked it from the videos I saw, the foiling looked light. Like it looked like you had no other choice. It wasn't like you were umming and ahhing. When I saw the guys and the girls, I've got to say, because obviously the girls, which we're going to come on to in a bit, they've still got 2 fleets, even at the 2-star events. Yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
Foil fleet and a fin fleet. And interesting. So why we're talking about the men, obviously this was what, majority fin, would you say? How many races?
This was we did 5. Wait, yeah, we did. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did 7 eliminations on the fin and 3 on the foil. Let's say the top boys, the top 10. You know.
Yeah.
So it was majority fin, and yeah.
Did you work out the results? Like if there'd have been a foil class and a fin class, did you just have interest? Who was better on the foil? Anybody stand out more on the foil, or
Alex
overall?
Like out of the three foil finals, Alex Cousin won 2 and I won 1.
Okay.
So Alex definitely, you know, when it was foiling time, he really accelerated. But at the same time, he raced much better. He started perfect, and 2 of those finals that we did on the foil, it got really light just before the start, and the wind started shifting, and he looked like he was on really good gear in terms of power. Like right now, foiling, like when it was fin, I was on my 7.7 and my medium board, and I would maybe put like 1 cm of downhole, move my mass track 1 cm, whatever. That was it, you know, not much changes throughout the day. On the foil, the perfect range is much smaller. So you're constantly playing with backwing angle. You're sometimes changing, like you stay on the same wings, but you change the fuselage, or maybe you change the front wing. And it's like just constantly trying to be, because you're only fast when you're in the perfect range of power, you know?
Interestingly, just while you were saying that, I know that something just came up on the video, which I know was going to be a talking point. But while you were talking then, it made me think, that sounds super technical. I know it's technical, but you're changing the angle of your back wing between races.
Yeah. Sure.
You don't go, okay, I'm set now. I found a good spot. That's it. Or you like, oh no, that didn't, I need to.
Yeah, you have a good spot, but the wind is constantly, you know, like the wind is constantly changing. And it's just that on fin, the right range is bigger. And on foil, the person with the perfect trim is the fastest person most of the time. And I think I don't want to take anything from Nico Goyard, But in Israel, he was pretty much the only one that looked on trim. You know what I mean? That he looked comfortable and he could push. The rest of us were just freaking fighting with our gear, you know?
Yeah.
So it is a skill, of course, to tune it as well, to, you know, to find those setups. But yeah, but I think I adjusted my, at least the back wing angle, like every heat. And the wind is pretty constant. I mean, it goes up and down 2 knots, whatever, but, you know, maybe it shifts a little bit. So then, you know, it's a bit more upwind. So you need a little bit more power or whatever, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's run it through. There's obviously people watching. They weren't there. I wasn't live streaming. Who were the standouts in the week? Obviously, we know you won. You actually started off the event. Well, I saw the results for the first race, or I saw the video where you fell off, or maybe you made a social media post. And I thought, oh God, here we go. That's not a good start. And then you came back pretty strong and put a run of what, 4 or 5 bullets together, or something like that.
Yeah, I started with a 6th. If you, I don't know, should I hassle you to go back to the other video, but I just basically fell by myself in the very first final. Like I had a terrible start, but then like great speed, and I came back really well into second, and I just fell totally by myself. So yeah, here we go. The video's coming. But that's in a weird way that gave me confidence, because I saw how much speed I have. I mean, you're gonna see that. Let's try to find that video. It's I think it's pretty.
I mean, so it's pretty tricky jibing in Croatia, because I saw a few people falling. It's not a straightforward, easy jibing place by the looks of it. I don't know. I mean,
it's totally choppy. It's totally choppy, and it's kind of like the guy in front of the first guy. He chooses his chops, and then he just messes it up for everybody else. You know, so you always see the first guy kind of escaping out of there, and the other guys kind of, you know, so struggling. So yeah. So basically that first final, I was like, okay, I fell like an idiot. That never happens to me alone, that I just fell alone. But I have speed. So then I managed to spin it mentally to actually gain confidence from that, and came back to win the second one. And then, as you said, won 4 in a row in a span of like 3 days. So that was a pretty, like, a glory run for my standards, for sure, you know.
Yeah, especially, like, I know it's a 2-star event, but like I say, you see the caliber of sailor. And I wanted to ask you this. It's a little bit off and on topic. I've been wanting to ask you this, and we might even get Matteo Iachino on. I have been speaking with Nico from Starboard. He might actually come on. But so you train in the winter with these boys. Do you think you're getting an advantage training with Matteo Iachino? Because I was thinking about this the other day. Albo, he didn't used to train with you guys. You know, Bjorn would never have trained with you guys, because I feel you are getting the upper hand because you're behind, you're chasing. Yeah. So you get to train with the guy.
Let me interrupt you here. Look where I am after the start. I just had a fucking absolutely terrible start. And then the thing just went on trim and just started motoring, and I just started coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. And I was like, holy shit, this is like, feels really good, you know, compared to the other guys, because your gear feels good, but you never really know. And here I just fall like a total beginner.
That is a blunder, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just.
But what you caught? You just caught that swell and then got stuck.
Caught the inside. What happens is you catch the inside rail a little bit, and you catch the foot strap on the water.
You can see it stops the board.
Yeah, the board stops, and you just fall.
And you've already put the power forward, so when you jibe, you can pull into the power. But the problem is with that, when the power goes and the board stops, you go over the front. I got you.
Yeah. So that was pretty annoying, because also you don't know. You see that on 7.7 and on the medium board you have great speed, but you don't know if if you're gonna have more racing on that, you know, it could just turn around. So,
Yeah.
but back to your question. I
Do
think,
you think, okay, I'll put it a bit simpler. Do you think the big guns are giving you an advantage by letting you train with them?
yes, for sure, but they would be worse off if they let us just, if they wouldn't train with us. You know what I mean? Because who could they, like, if you're first in the world, in theory, you can only train with guys worse than you, right? And you always want to train with somebody better than you.
Yeah.
So you're fucked.
Well, but at the same time, how did you get to first in the world? But I know what you mean, but it was an interesting thing I thought earlier. I thought, you know what, you get your confidence by beating these guys. I heard the podcast with you and Albo, you know, and he was talking about the young kids these days are just like, oh, my arms, oh, my legs, oh, you know, moaning that they're aching. And he's like, we don't do that. You know, I'm feeling it, but I don't give you that little bit of an in where you think, oh, Albo's feeling, you know, knackered or he's tired. And I thought it's the same thing with training. If you get to go against Matteo and you get used to racing with him and used to beating him, even if he's just testing stuff out, your confidence must go, you know, because that's the big difference. I mean, you can tell me more than anyone, is a confidence thing. Once you get used to winning, it's a mental thing. It's not necessarily a speed thing every time, although speed and tactics and training obviously comes into it, but a lot of to do with the fact, and Albo said the same thing. Once he started beating those guys, or Kevin Pritchard again said the same thing. Once you beat them, the psychological edge is lost. And your sort of the way you look.
What it feels like, it feels like rhythm. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like, being in there. So you just find your ways to start, your ways to jibe, your ways to do your thing, and all of a sudden it feels like the thing shifts from you chasing and kind of having to adapt to other people to other people adapting to you. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to start around you because they respect that you're quick. And I think this is what Antoine meant, that, well, Antoine, I think he said that he went from being scared to becoming the scare.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's the point I'm making.
His words. And it is a little bit like that. But to get there, you need to, like, beat that guy in training 400 times out of 500 to actually get that confidence. Because there is the mental part, but you cannot forget about the intangibles, which are, like you say, speed, jibing, that these guys are just good, you know? And I've seen Matteo not use a good fin, not use even a decent fin for the whole winter, not use a decent mast. And everybody was like, oh, Matteo's, you know, like, he's off this year. His gear is not working. And then we would get to the first event and he would just smoke everybody, you know? So yes, for sure he's giving us an advantage. But now, as of this time, that myself and Enrico, for example, out of the guys that are in Tenerife, and Bruno as well, are right there in like a, you know, top 10, top 5, top 3 picture, whatever you want to call it. Now that's an advantage. Now we made the jump, and so now he has the advantage again. You know what I mean? And yeah, if he was not to train with anybody worse than him, he would not train at all. So there's not much of a choice you have in that position, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's just an interesting thought, I thought. And again,
you know, like, and in this event, the main guy I was battling was Enrico. Every time I made a mistake, he was right there and he would take a bullet or do a really good result. And, you know, like two days to the end, he closed the gap fully, like to 1 point or something. And then we met like at night after the event, and we're like, fuck, this is working. Let's keep training together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
we could think like, one of us could think like, oh, the guy is super good. We have to separate because he's gonna, you know what I mean? But
do you think it will do that? Do you think anyone's going to be like thinking like this?
I think everybody realizes that you get an edge over the rest of the guys, and whoever is not doing that loses out. Okay. If you see some of the guys that didn't spend the last 18 months super productively, they're just out of it. You know, whether it be, even if they have speed, they're starting not so great and jibing, you know, not so great and whatever. They're just kind of look a bit lost, you know. So then if you're a guy like Matteo, you have no choice. You got to do it. And then when the event comes, I think you have to just find the edge, find the extra bit, you know.
So, okay, I mean, I have to ask this because
mental side, whatever. You know?
Obviously, I wasn't there, but I was expecting to see Matteo pushing you harder. Now, looking at results, don't get me wrong, he was there and he was pushing.
He did.
It was only
results, like, don't let the results fool you.
No, and that's exactly what I wanted to say to you. Are the results telling a different story? Because you see it in football. You can see somebody win 1-0 and they destroyed the game, or you can sometimes see them win 4-0 and they scored every chance they got. It doesn't always tell the whole picture. So interesting, you know, Matteo was having a real battle with Geordie for that third place. What was the difference between him? Because he was there. I remember looking, I think 2 days before the end, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be super close. In the end, you managed to put it together. Again, Enrico was right there. Enrico,
yeah, but at one point, I was leading after my glory run of 4 bullets, and Matteo looked almost like the biggest threat because he had a run of results. Let me read it to you: second, fifth, first, second. I mean, it doesn't get.
I'm going to pull up the results because I think it's an interesting look for anyone who didn't see the results.
Yeah, so if you see, like, from elimination 3 to, like, you know, that's a run of results.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Second, fifth, first, second. That's like winning competition results right there.
Yeah. Because if you look at mine, I have the bullets and whatever, but I also have a 6. I also have an 8, which is an over early. I'm counting 2 4s. So, you know, being like almost top 2 every race for that stretch for Matteo, that's scary. That's like, fuck, the guy
he's coming.
Is on it, you know? And then we went to foils and again, like, he got that 6, you know, it's the first foil final.
Yeah.
And you, again,
lost the momentum, or, you know,
it's like, you know, it's funny for me personally. I never like have a ranking in my mind or who's strong, who's not, until we race in that particular place. You know, so you just don't know, you know, and then you see the first final that you have some speed and you can fight and whatever, and then you get a little bit of confidence, and sometimes you have a shitty start and you feel like you're not going, you know. I don't know what exactly happened to him, but at one point he looked incredibly strong. So I think the results are not telling the full story here, you know. As they are, like with Bruno, for example. Bruno was probably, like, you know, as fast as Matteo and Jordi and Enrico, you know, and myself.
Yeah.
But a couple 8s there, you know, some mistakes on the final, whatever. So
I mean, it's interesting. You've got to say there's some new guys pushing through. I mean, and that is pretty much the whole idea of a 2-star event, is to give the lesser names a chance to be at the top of the fleet, you know, and still get media coverage and still draw attention. And you look at those results, obviously, you know, you won it, but I would say you're one of the top guys at the moment. Enrico, I think you two seem to me have had the biggest progression from the last events pushing forward. Just from watching, I would say, and I heard both of your names when I did the pre sort of amble around in Israel. You know, your name and Rico was mentioned a lot of times, as if watch out. Jordi as well, to be fair. Obviously Mateo, we know how capable he is, and then you see Basil Jacquin, you know, going pretty strong here, and I would say he's quite a vocal person for not foil slalom. Would that be correct? He's a big Finn.
Yeah, which is funny because he's actually really good on foil.
Well, maybe, but I have read a few things. I've heard a few rumors that he's kind of like, I know he was definitely, when it first came in, he was like, no, I'm sticking with the Finn. And then now he's obviously had to progress, but I think I would say he's a Finn.
Yeah, he likes it more. He likes it more. And I think we all, in a way, do. Like, in a way, there's nothing better than Fuerte 6-2 maxed. You know what I mean? I don't care how good the foils will be, it will never feel the same as,
I agree with that.
As you know, just feathering that fin through massive chops, like on the total edge of control, and just, you know, 8 guys around you, and that's like the top of the top, you know.
I totally agree. I mean, Bruno 6th, and you've got Alexander 7th. I guess a couple of the foil results really pushing up his results, because
after like, if we pulled up the results after the first day, you would see like there was 3 of the young guys of the up and comers in the top 10, and like Ennio was in 4th, I think.
Ennio was right up. I mean, he's been around a bit, but that was
Ritis Yasunas was in 6 or 7, and then Lohan Jules was in like 10th or something.
Give me a clue. Johan Jules. I'll be honest. If he's watching, I'm sorry. I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid result. Cedric Board 10th, Regis in 11th, you know, Ben van der Steen 12th. I mean, Kestel 14th, Daldorf. These are ahead of some pretty big names there.
Yeah.
Is he one we've got to look out for?
Definitely. Lohan is I think a 19-year-old kid from Guadeloupe, if I'm not mistaken, or from somewhere from the Caribbean. S2 Maui FMX, so really, you know, good gear, and he seems to have a really solid. He seemed solid. He was just advancing heat after heat after heat. You know, like he was, you know, maybe not winning heats or whatever, but it's a skill to pass heats. And if you see the guy consistently in 3rd or 4th and getting final after final after final, I mean, he made, and every loser he made, he also, like, he never finished last on the losers. You know what I mean? It's like he has a bunch of 12s and a 10th, you know? So definitely, like, you can see, you know, the speed you can get from the gear and from training and whatever, but this kind of racing ability is really, you know, if you have it naturally, it's a lot easier. So Lohan is definitely one to watch. I think he was really strong on the youth stuff. And
how old is he? Do we know?
19, I think.
Okay, so he's definitely one to watch.
And, you know, like the AFF tour, the French tour, is probably like the 2nd strongest tour in the world after the PWA, and he's beaten some of the good guys there already. So definitely.
I mean, that's what you need. I mean, you need a strong national tour, or you need a tour to work on your skills, you know, and you need to be pushed hard. I know when I used to do the wave stuff, we had a good tour in England for the wave stuff, and it made a huge difference before you go to a PWA event to have competed at a good level, because you learn skills that you don't even know you're learning. And him, you know, racing on the French tour, and they've got, like you say, it's a super strong tour with all top PWA riders. If you can hack it on there and you can take those guys on, you're pretty much ready for the PWA.
Yeah. So that makes it even that more impressive for guys like Ennio and Ritis, that they don't have that, you know. Ritis is probably, you know, is from Lithuania, like you'd think like Poland is hard to get on tour, but Lithuania must be like double of cards.
But I mean, I've seen a lot of his stuff. He's been training a lot, obviously, in Tenerife with you boys.
Yeah,
that's his training,
and it's really good to see him do well, because in Tenerife, sometimes he can get a bit down because there's a really strong crew, and like if you get beat like, I don't know, 3 days in a row, you feel like shit, but we all progress, and me myself, I kind of progressed, a level, and he like maybe the gap there is still a bit of a gap or whatever, but he progressed so much compared to the other guys. You know what I mean? So that's really, really great to see. And I think these guys like Enyo and Ritis, they could have done even better, but they started really well, and then it's the first time you do well, so you don't really know what you did that works and how to continue that, so yeah.
Sorry, I was just sending someone a little invite to the stream in case they wanted to go on. So a lot of people saying, obviously, cancelled events. We just heard today officially that Korea has been cancelled. That was going to be the second event for the year. So if you did well in Israel, you're kind of going, oh, yeah, that's, Nico is probably thinking, oh, okay, that's one less event to do. There still is one event planned, which is Silt. Will it happen? What you're hearing, it's a big event, a lot of people. Can that still happen? You want it to happen, I guess. You've got nothing to lose for you. I mean, I would.
Oh, totally. Fingers crossed for it to happen. I was really happy for Korea to happen, because with the foil, it would be actually a really good event, because many, many days we had just right on the edge of slalom, and we just canceled heats and whatever of fin. But with foil, we would just be running stuff all day, every day. So it would be really fun. Silt is such a big event and such a big operation that if it's confirmed now, like if it's happening now, barring a total disaster, is going to happen. That's
that could happen.
my take on it. Unless there's like a fucking Europe-wide lockdown, I think it will happen. So,
and this will be, I've got to say, for anyone who doesn't quite work out how racing does, 2 events is a massive mix-up. I was involved with being 5th in the world coming out of Pozo, and there was one event left, Silt, and I messed up Silt, and I went from 5th to 25th in the overalls.
Yeah.
If you mess up, you drop like a stone. If you do well, you get podium. It can change hugely.
Yeah, if I was Nico, I would like. He has some good memories from Silt, because he clinched the world title there for foiling.
Yeah.
But if I was Nico, I actually much rather have Korea and Silt, because Korea will be dominant on foil, and Silt can be iffy. Silt can be you miss your heat because you break your mast in the shore break. Silt can be you fucking can't jibe because your hands are frozen. Silt can be all sorts of stuff. Silt can be sitting on your ass for 8 days and just feeling really weird physically and not knowing whether you should.
It's a battle, isn't it? Mental battle, Silt. People who see it from the outside maybe don't understand how big a battle Silt can be, because usually you're traveling around and then you get to Silt and you've got 10 days where everything else is going on, and the racers have got it the worst, because there is not one forecast that you can reliably say there will be no wind, especially with the foil. So you are literally on the edge of doing something the whole 10 days. And I don't know if anyone's ever done a 10-day competition. That is mentally tough.
Yeah, no, it's almost like another skill. You got to be good at Silt. and I'm looking forward to really, I think like last couple of years, I managed to somewhat figure it out how to act there. But this year, obviously, it carries even more value. So
Yeah.
Couple questions from the public. Are they talking about keeping this format for next year, fin versus foil? Yes, that's the freaking idea. Like, that's why we introduced it. It's working well. I think if you see a full tour, you're gonna appreciate it more because there's gonna be both. So far in Israel, you know, it was like probably there was more weight on the foils. Croatia doesn't have that same value, so you know, so there was a bit more fin, but maybe it doesn't feel that way if you're a fan. Yeah. But I think this format so far so good. I don't see anybody, even the guys like you say, Basil and stuff, like they kind of come around and said like, it's actually all right. And the other question, or maybe that's not a question, it's a statement. We don't really know Nicolas Goyard level on fin. We actually do, because he did a couple events. He needs a little bit of training, let's put it that way, on the fin, but he's the best foiler in the world, I think we can say without a doubt. So right now, so he sticks to that, and you know,
and he's pretty good when it's windy. I mean, I've seen some stuff from the Defi wind, and you know, in the real windy stuff, he's fully challenging. So, you know, I guess if he's pretty solid on the foil up to 30 knots, then maybe he's going to be well, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to when we do an actual full tour with the normal events that we're used to seeing, because like I say, Israel was an amazing event for a spectator, but it wasn't our normal type event with normal conditions.
Yeah.
So an interesting one. We got to talk about the women as well. I mean, the women at the 2-star event in Bol, we're seeing new names, which is exactly why you want 2-star events. I mean, that's why I want 2-star events. I want to see who are the up and coming in sailors. We've seen it in the men, you know, we've seen it at the top level where, let's say, you and Rico pushed up to the top, which that's your first big event win, I guess. Would that be safe to say? I'm trying to think. Yeah. Enrico, second, that's got to be his best result. You know, then we saw the young French guys coming through. So it's definitely worked in the men. And then on the women, it was dominated by Sarah, I would say. I mean, you were there. Maybe you've got some
again. That's what it looks like on the results. Let me pull them up actually, but
I'll just pull them up now. Yeah,
that's not necessarily how it looked. I mean, she had great speed, was racing good, but especially on the foil was really challenged by this local girl, Palma Cargo. I think she does IQ foil. Not local, but Croatian. So like 1, 2, 3, 4 bullets she managed to take off Sarah. So, you know, like, but it's great to see an event like this and Sarah winning, because
this is on the foil we're talking. Sorry, I'm on the wrong.
Yeah. So this is the foil. So you see, like, Sarah has 5 bullets and then Palma has 4. So that's pretty close, especially in the light wind. Palma was really, really good. And then Helle, after like a great event in Israel, she didn't really, I mean, she was challenging, but didn't really get a bullet. So yeah, I don't really know what happened there, but it was a good fight and good to watch in the girls, like new names, like you say, and you can see who thrives in what, and you can see who's the new up and comer. And I think it's great in a way, and I almost feel bad for going on the men's side, because this really gives like a platform to a girl like Sarah, who, you know, did the Olympic stuff, does the IQ foil, borrowed a little bit of gear just to kind of manage to do fin slalom as well, and she loves it. She trains hard, and all of a sudden she wins an event, you know, and it's like, fuck, you know, there's probably a career there, you know.
So, I mean, and this, like you say, this type of event that's what it's built for. You know, she was showing glimpses of goodness, let's say, in Israel, and then she's come, you know, over to Bol. There's a few of the big names, like we're not seeing Marion Mortafon, you know, Sarah Keita we're not seeing. So you take out the big guns who in theory shouldn't be at a 2-star event, and then she gets her moment to shine. And this is what the sponsors need to see. She can go back to Holland now and go, I won a PWA event, and maybe she can get outside sponsors off the back of it. Maybe she can get other sponsors that she's got more interested. They get to see what she's capable of. And she won, not just the foil, she won the fin as well. So
yeah, and it's like winning an event and actually delivering until the very end is a skill also. You know what I mean? So big shout out to Sarah, because she's like a really positive force, and like she really loves it. Like we were talking in the evening after the event, like who's doing what after the event, and I was going on a mini holiday on the boat. Some guys were going home to rest, other guys were going to photo shoots or whatever, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to Garda day after tomorrow. A training camp starts with my national team. You know what I mean?
Okay, so she's full keen.
So yeah, she's full keen, and it shows. And it pays off. Spend the winter with us in Tenerife. So yeah, so great to see.
Obviously, a lot of talk about the women. They've got a separate foil fleet, separate fin fleet. We've talked about it before in Israel. Should it be joined? I mean, you've got to say, with the IQ foil, and I know from doing the Olympic stuff, there is a lot more women involved in the Olympic side of it. It's easier to get funding. It's just based off results. They're quite, usually in most countries, they're quite clear goals. If you're top 3, if you're top 5, if you're, a development squad, there is funding available in most countries for Olympics, windsurfing. It's kind of easier to get. And then you're thinking, but do the PWA join them together? Will that scare off the IQ foil interest, because they haven't really got their fin stuff down? I guess I don't know. What's the feeling between the girls? Did you speak to any of them about that?
Yeah, very mixed, very very mixed opinions, because there's an element of what you say, that there's this big IQ fleet, but after Israel, it seems like they can probably do it all on the foil. If it's fin and foil connected, you know what I mean? And I think my general idea with all this fin, foil, whatever, is that it's windsurfing, and the good people figure it out. And you see it, like Antoine is fucking good on foil, and I don't know, like most of the top guys, they manage to like learn and to be good on both. You know what I mean? So I don't see that for the women.
What about price though? Like money? Like I'm obviously at the Portuguese National Championships. We start today, 4-day event. It's just slalom.
Going for gold, Benny?
Going for gold, mate. No, but it's interesting to hear, speaking to a few people, that the problem I see is, in a small country like Portugal, do you dilate it too much? Because we've got some people are into foils, some people are into slalom. There's very little people that can do everything. For you guys, it's your life, it's your job. You're at the top of the game. You're the America's Cup of windsurfing. I get it. Where does it go to on the lower level? Like what the kids coming up, the amateur sailors like me. I'm not, I'm a full-blown amateur. You guys would kill me, but I'm kind of, because of my background, I'm probably higher up on the amateur scale. You know what I mean? But I'm not built like you guys, so I know I'm not as quick. But it's like, do I want to get into foil slalom? I'll be honest. No, I like it. I like watching it. I like seeing you guys compete in it. But do I personally want to go down that route, and all the expense that I know, the development of the kit is changing? We've already seen at the first event, you need a smaller wing. And then does that go down like the old school way of sinkers? Everyone had to have a sinker, and then everyone was sat on the beach doing nothing, because I don't know, like I'd love to know. And I don't think there is an answer, where it's going, all the levels, how do they fit in?
I think the foil has I think for the majority of the events, like you'll need 2 boards, a foil board and a medium fin board. And then you'll need like I don't know what, 3-4 sails, and you'll be good to go. The thing is that this is not really World Cup. What World Cup is about. World Cup is about progression, development, like you say, America's Cup style thing. But like we've had for like years now, everybody had 3 boards and 6 sails on the World Cup, right? But what did the punter have? The punter had 2 boards and 3 to 4 sails, you know? So I don't see a reason why not now the punter still would have 2 boards and 3 or 4 sails, just that one board, instead of the big board, slalom board, it would be a foil board, which actually covers way more conditions. And because it covers, let's say, from 7 to 20, where the old big board used to cover from 12 to 18 or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think it's a mental thing, and I think it's people don't like change, and I get it, you know. You're in your comfort zone and whatever, and all of a sudden you're going to foil and you're going to crash and you're going to...
Well, I'll add a little flip side to this. So you guys are the best in the world. You're not crashing that much, but you're crashing a bit. And there's something unexpected crashing, let's say. At an amateur national level, there's going to be more crashes. No matter which way you swing it, there's going to be more crashes. I don't know. I'm not sure I would feel that safe with a few of the guys that I know on foil slalom, because it's not like they're going to go, okay, I'll get a slower foil and a more stable one. They're going to want the guys that they're going to want the foils that you guys have got, you know.
Yeah, but unless, like, I met a million guys trying, and most of them, they go just like 1 foot strap, sheet it out, and going like super easy and just gliding. The only person that went 2 foot straps, sheeted in, and wanted to do 30 knots straight away is Andy Laufer. That's the only person that just like decided, I'm going to reach 30 knots or I'm going to absolutely kill myself. The rest of the people, they progress, you know, and it's normal that it will take whatever took us 2 years, it's going to take 5 for the rest of the world to kind of embrace. That's normal.
So what happens in that time? That's my question, because there's a transition period where you guys are sorting out your stuff, you don't know what to use, and then you've got these amateur guys like where I am now, I would say, who we don't know what to do. What do you buy? Like, you don't want to buy something that's going to be out of date, you know, as soon as you buy it. So I feel like there's this well, maybe no one's talking about it because I don't know. I don't know where it is. Where I would go next. What would I buy? Let's say you're talking to some of the guys out there. What would you advise them to buy?
Yeah, I would say like if you were buying gear from scratch right now, you would buy a foil board, an 8-meter foil sail.
What's a foil board?
And a medium slalom board.
I honestly don't know.
A foil slalom board is a 91 centimeter wide board with about an 85 centimeter tail, or between 80 and 86 centimeter tail. It looks like a bit of a door, but it's actually really fun to ride. And if you were to buy one, you should buy FMX Racing.
You're allowed to say that.
Just a little plug. Yeah. We have a petition from our boy Robin here from Tenerife. You should join the trainings next winter, Ben. That is like the Tenerife training.
I left that
great
on there.
To make some content as a pre-show.
I left that on there because I was actually, like I said, we just started this competition here in Portugal, and we were talking about it. And because the guys here think I'm quite fast, I'm like, guys, I am not fast. I know I'm not fast because I've got short legs and I'm quite short, but I've raced for a long time and I'm quite competitive. So, and I've realized that after 2 runs, my legs are shot. Like I literally, my shins are killing. And I was trying to work out. And then actually someone said the other day, he goes, maybe that's why you're going faster, because you're pushing harder than we are, kind of thing. Is that a thing? Just why it come into my head now. Do you find your legs, or you just train so much your legs don't hurt? Is that how it works?
You always push until the most you can.
Yeah.
Like,
and your legs
so
are what
many
hurts
heats.
first.
Like in Israel, that the last reach was upwind, and some of the reaches were really long and whatever. After a couple heats, like I had a photo finish with Antoine, I crossed the finish line and I could not sail 1 more meter. My legs just exploded after the finish line.
I'm so glad you said that.
So you push, and this is kind of, that's why I think you're fast, because a lot of the amateurs, they don't push and they just size down. They just go on gear that is that they're just kind of comfortable cruising on, but that's not the way you go fast. The way you go fast is you go big and you set it up in a way that you can still push with your legs, and then you can go quick. Like so many times I sail at home with guys that are over 100 kilos and they're like size or 2 smaller than what I'm sailing for my training. You know what I mean?
That's the interesting bits, because I was thinking of making a video of how to go fast, and I thought about it a lot. It's not that easy to explain to someone how to go fast. And again, relatively for my size, I think I'm okay. But I remember when Tati was my size and he was smoking me, and I remember him just being on the edge, pushing so hard all the time. And I think that is a lot to do with going fast. It feels like you're going to explode. Or is that just me?
But that's how you have to feel. That's how you have to feel.
Give it, like, the guys watching, give an explanation how it feels when you are going fast, but on the edge. Like, how does it feel? What's the feeling?
Well, sometimes, a lot of the times, I feel my front foot is like slipping out millimeter after millimeter. If I don't readjust it, it will just slip out and I will eat shit. Like,
so glad you said that. Okay.
Like absolute. Like I do, like pretty much probably every season I have from 3 to 8 catapults that are like death. Like I'm sore for 2 days after that.
But that's normal, is it? The foot feels like it's squeaking backwards, and you just trying to squeeze it forwards to get more traction. Is that normal?
Yeah, that's normal, and you probably try to adjust your stance in a way that it happens as little as possible.
Yeah.
But for it not to happen, you probably have to narrow your stance, which will lift the board even higher.
Okay.
So then you're like even more on the edge,
Okay.
I always try to explain that straight line speed is a combination of technique, so skill, right? Tuning the gear and physical ability. And so probably all 3 of those can be worked on, and I think I'm a pretty good example, because when I came on tour, I wasn't really not that fast. I mean, like I was 20 years old, whatever, in 2012, had decent gear, but didn't really go anywhere. So all these years, like spent to actually, And Goran says, and balls. Yeah, you need a little bit of balls, but like my gear is so comfortable that you need a little bit, but it's not crazy, There is that. It's all about like balancing it out, balancing between like having all that power, but actually that power contributing to you actually accelerating.
And that's definitely a key. Like, again, speaking from personal experience, the balance of fin, board, and the pull of the sail being at the right place, and obviously harness line, where you, and then I can feel it. I just know when I'm in a good place. It feels like.
And probably the biggest problem for 90% of the people is that they never felt it. so they don't know what to search for.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance, to try a gear of somebody that goes quick, try it and try to be really conscious about how it feels.
Yeah.
Where is it pulling? How are the how are the distances between mass track and harness lines and boom height, and you know what I mean? So try to just be conscious of how it actually feels, so you can replicate that a little bit.
But you have to go on someone's gear who's very similar to yourself, because when you go on a little bit taller guy, you lower the boom, everything changes. The harness lines are too far back, and there's lots of things that I've noticed. You've got to find a guy with a certain style, or a style you want to replicate. But when your gear is balanced, if you've never had balanced gear before, it is like someone is shining the light, and you're like, oh, so this is why it's so easy. You know, like when you have a good fin that you can just push, you get that board in the position, the rig is lifting but in the right spot, and there is just a nice position. I mean, I don't get it that often all the time because I'm not super tuned in. You know, I haven't picked my start gear for a long time. I picked it up the other week, and it took me a bit of time to get back into it. But when you find it, it's like, oh yeah, that's the spot.
Sounds like Ben Proffitt Tenerife Slalom Training Diaries 2022.
Okay, going back to that, I do want to do it as a point of, I think I'm a good amateur windsurfer racer. You know, I've got a good racing background. I know I'm not as fast as you guys, but I want to know how hard you're pushing. Because as I said to you, I do 3 runs here the other day. I was literally, my legs were killing. I'm puffing. I'm like, oh my God, how do you race all day training and then do another day? It's just, I don't think I would be able to do it. And bearing in mind, it's flat here, which if anyone's ever sailed in flat and then sailed in chop, the difference is night and day. It's not even a question. It's so much harder in rolling swell with chop. I mean, that's Tenerife. It's super hard.
Yeah, I already have like a couple of videos for you. So there's the training diaries, but there's also a day of slalom sailor, and you have to do, for one day, you have to do all the things we do.
Do you have to eat what you eat?
Yeah, eat, gym, sail, stretch, whatever, work on the gear, whatever. And then you obviously you have your waterproof mic now, and that's gonna be just straight up comedy. I think that's
I'm
super wait to watch it.
I am super keen because I think it's like doing Boy Scouts and SAS training. There's just not even there's not even a comparison. Like I do one speed run here, and then I literally sail back, hand at the front, sheet it out, leaning forward like I'm just relaxing, because to do 2 flat out runs is like a burner for me. Honestly, I don't know I think there's something wrong with me, or just you guys are machines.
No, it is quite physical. It is quite physical, but your body gets used to it. I mean, John Sky has been on it for a couple of years now, and like he would pop to Tenerife from Gran Canaria, where he lives, and do like a day or 2, and then go back and come with another batch of prototype sales and whatever, And the first years he just like you'd see him at night, and I was not sure if he's gonna make it to the harbor, to the ferry. And then a couple of years later he actually did PWA Fuerte, and so it's fun. It's really, really fun,
That's good to see. Like I said, it will happen at some point. Well, there we go. I mean, have we broke down Croatia? Will it be a 5-star event that year? I don't know. What's your feeling like being there? I know Tony's keen. I heard he was going to remortgage his house. He is keen. He is like a mad keen windsurfer, and he has been pushing that spot like for a long time. He's always backed the PWA. So I'd love to see him with all the major stars there, because I think it deserves it. You've obviously been there a lot. You've won there quite a few times now, no?
3, yeah.
3, exactly. So we heard you're moving there. That's the rumor.
No, I actually, I don't think there's anything special there. It's just, whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's not talk about me.
But it's interesting. You've won there 3 times. Do you think that's when you've won somewhere, it gives you confidence anyway? Obviously, this year was the hardest competition you've had, in terms of big names turning up. I mean, Matteo's there. I mean, that's big. Geordie's there. Bruno was on form. Okay, I don't think he was. He said he was a bit ill. I saw some stuff from him on Instagram. He's been traveling around and going from one place to the next. I think he even put in the 1 hour race in between Israel. And I mean, he's burning the candle. But still, and Rico, I bet he thought that was his year because he didn't really do many things wrong at that competition. I don't think watching. One mistake from you, he was in.
Yeah. No, it was very high level. It was very... It didn't feel like a 2-star. It felt like I really sailed some of my best stuff. I mean, I made mistakes. I probably made 2 or 3 big mistakes all week, but the ones that I did well, I did really like. Some of the finals I did perfect. And if you sail that and somebody still beats you, you have to be able to take it, But luckily it's, for me, like that's all I can ask for. That if I do stuff perfect, I have the ability to win. So that's great, That's and it gives you also some confidence for places like Silt and whatever, because it's going to be up to racing and whatever. I don't know what I'm on about. Let's just wrap it up here. And
I've got to say it's interesting for me as a voyeur, as a watcher of slalom, to see some new guys pushing through, for whatever reasons and how it is. You can see there is a bit of a change now. Like, it's nice to see the top 3, which we've seen for a long time, Albo, Giacchino and Mortafon, but everybody surely for the neutral wants to see other guys pushing into that top 3, which it feels like it could be happening right now. We've seen Nico Goya obviously dominating in Israel. This is a 2-star event, but some big names there. You definitely pushing on. Enrico as well. And there's people around that area that feel like,
I think you saw the writing on the wall in 2019, where the big 3, they still were 1, 2, 3. But Antoine had a bad event in Denmark, not because he sailed bad, but because some other guys stepped up. Then in Fuerte, it was not always there were 1, 2, 3 every final. And then Enrico won quite a few finals already in 2019. And then, so the peaks, they come first. I managed to win 2 finals, I think, in 2019. And, the peaks, they come first. And then the rest kind of, the consistency comes a little bit and whatever. And I know with myself, it was a little bit, 2019 was like, okay, I can actually probably fight with these guys. I'm not consistent yet, but if I can fight 1 out of 5 heats, means I can probably fight 4 out of 5 as well. I just need to work on my consistency mentally and with the gear and everything, So now I think we're seeing the fruit of that. And it also just happened that we had this fucking lockdown and stuff that some other guys maybe dropped out of the picture, retired, Julien Cantel, Pascal Tosselli, things of that nature.
Is Tosselli gone?
Yeah, unfortunately he had a heart condition that got discovered during 2020, and he needed like some minor surgery, but some sort of surgery, and basically he couldn't get his heart rate up anymore. Like, kind of, I guess like a minor version of what we saw on the football with Christian Eriksen, right, on the Euros.
Yeah.
So that's really a shame, because Pascal was one of the natural fastest guys in the world for sure, and Julien was one of the best natural racers, you know, jipers and starters and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, bit of a shame, but I yeah. So these are all the factors that come into what you start seeing now. Now you start seeing guys actually beating that big three, you know. But it's been a process of, you know, probably 2-3 years in the making, you know.
Well, I mean, it's set up now. We've got probably one competition left, Silt. Will we have a different world champion for the first time in a long time? You know, we got 3 guys that have dominated that world title race for a long time. One of them being most of the times, but you know what I mean? Could we see a new one this year? We've one other event, no discard, is fully open, isn't it? And especially it being
it is fully open. I would say Pierre's in a pretty good position because he's in second and he has all that experience and seems like he has a, you know, very good package in terms of he's strong on the foil, strong on the fin, etc., etc. I'm a little bit like now even more pissed that I finished 4th in Israel. That really probably should have been a little bit better, you know, to position yourself for Silt that, you know, that little bit closer because I think there's going to be realistically 6 or 7 guys that could, you know, could we see a world champion with a win and a 6th? I think we could, but you know,
we definitely could. But you know, like you say, it gets a bit slimmer. I would say 4th, where you are sitting now. Interesting.
Yeah. And funny enough, that was my goal for the year. My goal for the year is to try to be in the picture.
That's like, a good point.
Come season's end, like if I can be even mathematically in the world title conversation, I'd be stoked, you know. So yeah, so that was kind of my very general goal. And well, I wish it would be after 7 events, not after fucking 1, but
well, you can't choose that. I mean, it's interesting. Is that true? Women are not racing in Silt?
It's still to be decided. They're trying to put it there.
Yeah, because
historically, women have not been racing in Silt due to shore break, due to, you know, all sorts of things. But with how the calendar is, on the last PWA meeting we had in Israel, Rich Page, the tour manager, he said it's still a conversation, ongoing conversation, and they will do the best they can to have.
Maybe it was a rumor, but I heard they were trying to get all disciplines.
Yeah, all disciplines, men and women. That's kind of the goal. Fingers crossed for that because, you know, the girls deserve it as much as the guys. So.
Well, there's one more question. I think we asked it before, so we definitely try and answer it now. Maciek, that's for you, mate.
Can you describe the difference between you top 10 guys and the next level down, top 10, 20? Like, what does that come down to? Start, speed, jives, tactics, mentality, errors, probably the sum of everything. Probably the sum of everything, Chris. Or Christian, sorry. But I'd say the one thing you have to have is the speed to really, you know, to really challenge for winning finals and whatever. So for me, for example, I felt like I had a lot of the other stuff that I knew how to start well. I knew how to jibe and whatever. So I needed to work on the speed. Then I got the speed, and then it turned out that I wasn't consistent enough. So you kind of, you know, go from thing to thing. And what's that? Yeah, so you kind of go from thing to thing, and you see like what's the next thing I can improve, you know, what's okay. Like in Israel, for example, I wasn't aggressive enough. I got to every final, but I had maybe one good final, you know. So it means like on the finals I was just freaking daydreaming or whatever, you know. So coming into Croatia, I was like, okay, freaking, you know, like risk a little bit more. Seems like you can make finals consistently, so don't settle for just being in the finals and getting fourths and fifths and whatever, you know. Like, try to win every final.
There's a killer instinct, isn't it? There's a killer instinct that is the difference between winning and being there or thereabouts. You gotta push that.
You gotta have balls to risk it and eat the consequences. And the consequences, I tell you, when you go over early on a final, when you know that you have the speed to win, you feel so dumb.
Yeah.
You feel like such an idiot, you know? But in a way, you gotta push, you know? And if you're gonna be a 1/10 of a second on the wrong side of the watch, sometimes you just gotta take it and eat it and just go for the next one, you know? I was very, very aggressive on the starts in bowl, and I wasn't in Israel, and I think we can compare the two results and see which which attitude was better, you know?
Yeah.
So things like that, you just react to what's going on. Hopefully you have people that help you also to break it down and whatever, you know, so you don't go crazy. And yeah.
Whatever. Well, there we go. Well, I'm not sure we answered all the questions. I'm not sure we just had a chat, I think, but we haven't got a podcast this week, which is why we're doing the after show. Maciek, what's the update on the podcast, mate? Because I've heard I went so fast, all my hair blew off, is going to be on the podcast soon.
Yeah. Yes, I need you to brief me in on our next guest, because I'm too young to remember him. I mean, I've seen some videos and whatever. Let's not spoil. Should we spoil it or should we not spoil it?
Well, I think maybe we could even get some questions. So we've been in contact with Mr. Fred Hayward. Now, a couple of the young guys out there will be like, who? Isn't that a guy who owns a property place on in Maui? And it's like, no, I grew up on the Neil Pride videos. Every Christmas I'd get a Neil Pride video. And one of my favorite lines from Fast Forward, which was the first Neil Pride video I ever watched, was I went so fast, all my hair blew off. Fred Hayward, speed legend. I think he was the first guy to break 30 knots. I think it was 30. Macca was 40, wasn't it? I think. I don't know. I think 30 knots. Fred Hayward did it in Weymouth. But he's just got a book out, which, again, it might be an interesting read. I don't know. I'm not a big reader, but I'm kind of keen to have a read of that. So Maciek is going to be thrown in the deep end, and we're going to have a few questions with Fred Hayward. But that'll be an interesting one, I'm sure. For any of you speed freaks out there, I'm sure he's got some really interesting stuff. So that should be.
So that's coming up next Wednesday, and I'll be back on the podcast. Got a couple good guests lined up. Somehow.
Come on, give some teasers.
Windsurfers don't love scheduling very much. I mean, no. It's been quite hard to schedule with some guys, but we have a couple designers in the pipeline, couple industry people, hopefully some legends. Some guys I've been chasing notoriously since like 6 months, like
Jason Pryor
and Jason Polacao, actually, both of them. I've been texting with for basically like 6 months.
I mean, just out of interest, while we've got a few people here, I know this is a very niche subject, talking about a PWA event after it's happened, but I know that means you're super keen windsurfers. So let us know in the comments, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, who you want to see and what type of people, because it's an interesting one. It's like some people want to hear from, the up and coming stars right now. Some people want to hear the current stars. Some people just want to hear from old legends, and that's it. And then you've got the designers, you've got the brand managers, the shapers. I think it's really interesting. The type of people that work well on a podcast. Like, I do my best not to listen to the podcast. And when I go on a trip, like when I went to Israel, I did some looking back over some of the podcasts and just kind of binge listened, if that's even a thing, over the time I was traveling. And there's some real interesting ones, actually. I thought it was super good. So hopefully, I mean, I'm definitely a fan of the old legends, because they're the people I sort of grew up watching, and now I'm involved in the scene. I know quite a lot of the guys, and I obviously don't know all the stories, but I know more about these guys that are now in the limelight than the older guys. So the older guys is always an interesting one for me because I kind of grew up watching them. So yeah, what we got? Let's have a look. There's a few comments coming
in. Somebody hit on, where do you buy Challenger sales? Online, mate. You can buy them online on the website. Peter Tolman he said yes, and he told me that he's gonna give me a hard run. He basically told me, I have a little bit of journalist experience, so you better fucking know what you're doing. Something like that.
For a podcast, like for me, no holes barred. Just, you know, controversy is I'm all up for that. Whatever. Like, I want to hear it. I mean, that's a story. I've got a Tomlin 260, whatever it is, in the van that one of the local boys here lent me to do a couple of runs on. And actually, I'll just tell you what, there's a few things going on Windsurfing.TV. I've got a Bic wrap, I've got a Mistral Stinger. There's a few things lined up, and I think we're going to do a day here in Martigny where we lie them all on the beach, and we're all going to do some test runs.
Are you copying my shit?
That's old, man. No, but I told you before you even released that video, I said this is the way forward, man. Everyone wants to see the old boards getting hacked. I've got so many good memories of old boards. It's unbelievable. What about Monty?
Monty would be a good one. I texted him. He didn't reply, but I might text him again. Yeah. So Monty.
Pete Cabrina. I tell you, that's an interesting one because a lot of the new guys don't even know he was a windsurfer. They're like, oh, he's the guy who did the kites, isn't he?
Yeah, he won the Aloha Classic a couple times, right? Or something like that.
Full legend.
It was like Robbie Nash versus Pete Cabrina.
Yeah, well, we definitely...
I'd like to hear from a foil designer. That's a good question, actually. Yeah, the design testing process. Yeah, this is... I might be able to hook you guys up with one. Yeah, need to it's the podcasts. They're fun to do. They're not so much work when you're actually interviewing the guys. It's basically fun because I'm genuinely interested. But I need an assistant for chasing the guys and scheduling all the interviews.
Yeah, that's the hardest bit, isn't it? It's the same with me with Windsurfing.TV, trying to get videos off people and email. And this is almost the bigger thing than actually doing it in itself, which is why I find doing videos with myself much easier because I don't have to rely on anybody else. But we get in there.
Although that Send It sessions, the last one with Portugal, with Grezzi and a couple other guys, Maui with Brasilino and stuff, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Send It session. It's because that's what I want to see. I want to see people talking about spots and seeing new spots and not just seeing, the run of the mill. I mean, we're definitely getting a few here coming through. There's a few calls. Scott Fenton would be a good one. Has he still got the mohawk? In theory, yeah. I think Mickey Eskimo would be great. I heard some of him on the Maui live stream, and for what he comes across when I didn't even know him, I was thinking, geez, how is he? But he speaks really well. He's got a good Arnie Schwarzenegger impression as well.
Laird Hamilton, can we afford that, Ben? Do we have budget for Laird?
Laird, I'm not sure. I think we should definitely give it a go. I mean, there's some.
He charges the big bucks, doesn't he?
I imagine so. I doubt we've got the budget.
Yeah.
Vans, I've actually filmed a few recently, or I'm going to film a few. You don't want to see mine. That's all what I will say. I was going to make an update on mine because it's been such a disappointment.
It wasn't too bad when I visited you. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, Josh is a really good one. I mean, he is like one of my idols growing up. So, it's interesting to see his and what he's doing now. He's kind of mad as well.
Josh Stone, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we do some live shaming or?
Yeah, we should. We did actually have him lined up, didn't we? Didn't he let you down twice?
Twice, yeah. I woke up because he's in Maui, so it's like 5. So it's like whatever his afternoon is, it's like early morning. So I woke up like one time at 5, the other time at 6 a.m., whatever. And then he just never showed. So yeah, he's like still my idol though. I would still, like, if he ever comes around, I'll definitely interview him for sure. Yeah, him, Polakao, it's like that's my era of like, you know, growing up, like, yeah, young Ricardo. That's kind of, yeah, what I grew up watching, you know.
Yeah,
Some
me too. Well, me too. Like, I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up watching them, but that was the time I was getting into freestyle and wave sailing. So then they became that focus for me. And you know what it was like back then, trying to learn moves and watching every little video clip you could find, because the internet wasn't anything like that it is now. People don't realize, some of the young kids, how it was. you know, before that, it was just
I told Ethan Vester, who's only like 6 years younger than me or something. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I tried to learn to Spock, but I just couldn't. Like, he's like, couldn't you go on YouTube? I'm like, no, you idiot. It wasn't that.
Exactly. It wasn't what it is now. That's for sure. It's like a dial up and, you know, absolutely shocking. I mean, like I say, Andy, like Mark Angulo, Rush Randall, that was my video. Fast forward, Neil Pride videos every Christmas without fail. It sounds weird. Is it weird that I remember the smell? Is that just weird?
I remember like Josh Stone, that Aloha Man. I can probably like tell you the soundtrack. Like,
me too.
You know,
was it Gonalo Apes or what?
Gonalo Apes, yeah. Open Your Eyes, and he was doing forwards of the lip, like against the sun, like backlit. That was pretty sick.
Hang on, what's going on here?
We had Anders Bringdahl.
I was
like
about
one
to
of my favorite podcasts.
Okay, stay with it. Anders has already been on. We've had him. Rush Randall. There's so many here. Duncan would be absolutely gold, to be fair. I mean, he has done it all. I remember speaking to, I've spoke to him a lot, obviously, because he's the PWA head judge, but his days back in the UK, getting paid a fortune just to sail in the UK. You know, it's just a whole different league to what we're on now.
Yeah.
Cowley. I mean,
I'm just writing down some names from here.
Yeah, Coombs is a good one. We're going to go on a run soon. Back some up in the, if we can get them all listed up, then have like a catalog where we can just keep going. So don't worry, the podcast is coming back. So there we go. I think that's it. I think we're done. I think we are done. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. I've got to say, thanks to Maciek, obviously, once again. Like I say, the podcast is missing this week. So we thought we'd have a little quick relook over the Bowl Croatia event. Obviously, Maciek winning it, and Sarah Winnicus winning both the foil and the fin in the women. Really good performance, and good performance from a lot of the newcoming women. That was really good to see. Interestingly, Korea cancelled as of today, so that won't be happening. There's only one more PWA competition, which is Silt, and like Maciek says actually earlier, for that to be saying it's still on now is a very good sign. It's a big event. It takes a lot of organizing. If they haven't called it off already, there's a very good chance that is happening, and what they're talking about is doing it for men and women in all categories. So it would be a massive end to the year, and as we know, Silt can produce some friggin' crazy conditions, so it would be pretty epic, I reckon. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time for the podcast, probably, or something else. Stay tuned. Portuguese National Slalom Championships is coming up.
My money's on you, Ben. Go for it.
Okay, let's do it.